Astrology and insights. Specifically today, I'm going to be coloring on the intuitive coloring book, Astrological Harmony. I'm going to be working on the Taurus energy, my Taurus energy specifically. Something that I'm doing specifically is working to find working with my light, working with the light of Christ that shines within me, working with faith, working with love to find the shadows, identify them, get out the negative energy out of my system that is unserving to me, that is causing physical, mental, emotional, spiritual pain or anguish or just discomfort that's ready to leave. And I'm going to work on the energy of my Taurus. And I actually grabbed my list of where my Taurus is. I think for like my main Taurus is in Chiron. My Taurus is in Chiron and it is in the 8th house. I couldn't fully define what those things are. I'm a Google friend when I look at that. When I am still studying and looking up astrology, I am a open up the Google machine and I Google it and then I intuitively find the one that feels correct, that feels good. And in that case, it helps me to know that I am learning and growing in other areas, and it's okay that I don't memorize all this stuff. It's okay that I have life is an open book test. That's something that's come across a lot with clients recently as well, is the idea that we have to know anything. And I think it's a tool of Satan that he uses against us is, you're supposed to know this stuff. You're supposed to know it. And I'm like, God never said that. Like, it's very much an open book test, this whole lovely experience of mortality and being separated from the presence of God and choosing him and choosing love, choosing faith. It's very much an open book test. We're never in this alone. And that's where I think Satan gets us. I find it interesting that that topic is naturally coming up as I am feeling and working through this energy. I'm about to yawn. Oh. Oh. Something interesting with Taurus that I know from the very beginning is that I actually have done watercolor paintings for all of these, and I'll show you what that image looks like. I'll put that up while I'm talking about this, but I did a watercolor of Taurus and all the signs actually, and I didn't go into it other than just wanting to capture the light, the essence, the energy that was Taurus with a different watercolor, which is different than these intuitive coloring page drawings. They have a whole different intention of why they were created and what they're meant to be used for. So they look different, but they feel the same. That's the perk. Anyway, Taurus actually ended up looking, as you can see, and I shared the picture, it's a square, but it's a beautiful square with all this nature in it and all this structure. And I'm going to yawn again. And I'm sure that my Taurus and Chiron is the soul wound. It's where we feel the most wounded. What I have found is one of my soul wounds personally that I have looked at over the years is I have some major neglect and abandonment in my personal life, trauma, as well as inherited massively ancestral trauma around neglect and abandonment. It's been a common theme in my ancestry to have that happen to multiple people in my family, from my parents, grandparents, great grandparents, and so on. There's been a lot of funk. Maybe I'll make a video and post it while I'm doing these of going through a family tree session for myself with you guys too, so you can start to go explore your family tree and start to better understand yourself, because through the lens of our family, whoo, here we are. Anyway, when I was doing that Taurus energy, that square, I feel it's important. It's going to show up here. And it feels like I want to draw outside of the lines, but I don't want to draw outside of the lines. Like I want to. This also feels like this feels like a funny duck. Oh, a loon. Did you hear that noise? I don't know if it caught that, but the noise that the marker just made was like a screeching noise. Do you know what a loon is? Have you ever seen them or heard them? They sound like a wolf howling. It's the coolest noise. When I lived in Maine in that summer camp, that's where I first saw loons. They can dive underwater. They're these cool little black dinosaur ducks with red eyes. Excuse me, I'm belching too. Something shifted. Um, I'll be interested to see what comes out, knowing that I have soul wound and I have abandonment and neglect and the things I do know. So it's interesting what will come out. This right here feels like music. It feels like a band, like a performance of some kind, which is interesting is that I grew up without music in my home. My mom was not a music listen. My sister, I had a sister and a brother who really liked music, but I didn't listen to music either, not realizing my ADHD music overstimulated my mind. And so if like I was studying or everything had to be completely silent, my brain cannot handle sound, which I think is interesting with like ADHD and being autistic and having ADHD. I find it interesting the things that a typical ADHD brain can do. I think my autism keeps me from being able to do some of the things that would normally like regulate or help me. So music is not one. Music is not something that is my thing. Concert, too many overstimulating things. Nope, too loud, too many people, too much energy moving. I don't like them. So in my life at 42 years old, I have gone to, I think, 4, maybe 5 concerts in my entire life. And at this moment, unless it is a client that I'm working with and someone who I absolutely adore, and I have ear sound canceling headphones on, I won't go to them. Anyway, fun fact about Sarah. Concerts. I love music. I mean, at this point, I sing to music. I sing to music now. I use it as a release, but I'm definitely a Jesus music listener. That's talking about Jesus. You got me. I like it a lot. I like it. Hymns. I sing choir songs. I can't move my voice around like a remotely like a Mariah Carey type move. Nope, can't do that at all. But you give me church choir where I have a strong soprano singing next to me and I can sing with them. I can praise Jesus with song, especially when someone's in tune next to me and I can follow them. That's very helpful for me. Anywho, fun facts. I feel really stressful with this. Ugh. My dad was really into jazz music, and he keeps coming to my mind about like he really liked jazz. And honestly, jazz is probably one of the only musics that I don't. No, I don't really like techno. Jazz and techno, I don't really like them. They're too busy for my brain. Like I don't like them. But my dad loved it. And so this kind of feels more like my dad energy. But this also feels like dad energy, but it feels like priestly. Like they feel like priestly energy. Well, apparently a whole bunch of my dad is going to come up right now. Um, in my faith, my dad left the church that we belong to and did some things that made it so he wasn't always, it's not that he wasn't welcome back because you're always welcome. I think hopefully any church, they welcome you back if you're in a place where you're seeking and learning and loving. But my dad did some stuff that got him in trouble at church. And this feels like that. It kind of feels like monk energy. These feel like leather tunics. I haven't defined who these 3 energies are, but it is interesting. This feels like grass, kind of like paver stones in the middle of a grass that you walk across. What was happening? Ooh, something is happening. Ooh, I didn't realize these would be so uncomfortable to do. My energy is so, Oh, I really didn't know these would be that uncomfortable. Oh, I personally am in some big energy shifts, so I mean, it makes sense. And just to emphasize that trying to find the shadow, I am uncomfortable. Like there is, I am uncomfortable. There's discomfort, but it's not to the point where I am like afraid it's going to stay or I'm going to always be feeling like this. Through healing and through learning and studying and developing a relationship with God, I've come to understand that there's an end, that these weird feelings will go away. And in the meantime, they're giving me an opportunity to feel and to learn about myself and to have different experiences that teach me. And so I'm okay with them, even though they are uncomfortable. I personally am okay. I find ooh, more peace knowing that there's an end and that there's a discomfort for a while, and that's okay. That discomfort is part of life. As I breathe into that, like it's like take a deep breath in that. Discomfort is part of life. Breathe in. Know where that goes. Right there. Discomfort is part of life. Discomfort is part of life. Discomfort is part of life. I also think that's a adversarial trick to make us think that life is meant to be comfortable or that comfort can only be found in what's familiar. And even in some of our lives, especially when we come from families like generational trauma or personal experience trauma, we have this concept that what's familiar is pain, and that then we only seek that and know that, right? We only do. I want to cut into that purple one. I was trying to avoid it, and then it was like, no, don't avoid it, cut into it. I want to color this in, but it wants to be very like specific. And it feels like a ladder of some sort, like the lines that are getting created. But it also feels like a neener energy, like neener, I can do this and you can't, which I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Neener. Do you guys remember that? Are you old enough to have the neener pumpkin eater? What's up with the pumpkin eater? Like, why? Why pumpkin eater? Excuse me. There's a massive belching happening. I'm also getting a physical pain in the back of my head that feels a sensation of, and I feel kind of disoriented in my front. So I'm going to keep working. Ooh. Ooh. So this feels like a band. This feels like those preachers. This one feels like a monk that kind of was trying to leave a child that's adult and child. This also feels like a person. This energy does, but it feels more like a story made up person, not a real person. These energies feel like real people energy, like lived experience in life and the real human experience, whereas this one feels like robotic and a story, like a made up energy. So wherever my made up energy is relating to my Taurus and Chiron in the eighth house, let's get it out. Purge. I don't want that anymore. I don't need any stories. I am happy living in reality. That honesty that I was talking about in the Aries video, when you learn to be really honest with yourself, you start realizing maybe I have been telling stories. Maybe I have some stories going on. When you start realizing that there's some stories, you can start to process and let go. This feels like water, drowning in the water, or swimming in the water. I don't know yet. I was asking and trying to understand the water, and it feels like baptism by water is going to short it out. Like it felt like swimming. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Oh, that's a big one. Hold on. Thanks. Baptism by water. Baptism is cleansing. Baptism is renewing. So the sacrament is each week, right? You take the sacrament, and the sacrament renews. So I understand the monks and where they came from. There's a thing I don't know if I have to. Still feels like water. It's interesting that for being water, it wants geometric, like it wants sharp lines, not organic, rounded lines. It wants straight. So now it feels like a swimming pool. So no longer baptism type energy. Oh, as a little kid, I got in trouble from my neighbor's mom. We used to play baptism in the little pool, and the mom told us that we couldn't do that. She told us that we couldn't play baptism in the pool, which I didn't understand, but I was such a rule follower that if someone told me not to, I wouldn't do it. But I didn't understand. Apparently, do I still understand the spirituality of it? I guess I'm questioning right now that if I saw little kids who were trying to understand this baptism, right? The Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and baptizing. And in my faith, we believe in baptism by immersion. So it's a dunking under the water, right? So I wonder if today, Sarah today, would stop kids from doing it if they were doing it to learn. Oh, there it is. That's the block. So a lot of things that I did as a little kid, my husband and I have realized in my adult life that well, not almost, it's like everything I've done is I love to learn. And so even my play, I played to learn. I didn't play just to play. I was playing so that I can learn something. Um, so I played, yeah, that's all I did. I would play library, I would play grocery store, I would play like sewing, I'd play cooking, I'd play mom, I'd play house, I play even playing Barbies and stuff. It was like pirates. I played pirates with a friend growing up a whole lot at her house because she had this cool like raised bed thing around her house that we could go and run around. And we just pretended it was a pirate ship. I don't know why, but we had fun. We played a lot of pirate. Her name was Michelle. She was also in that gifted class with me that I was talking about that my little bully kid was in. Anyway, um, playing, playing to learn, playing to learn. So everything that I've done, is it the perception? Have I given myself an extended grace? for playing to learn. Like shamed or guilted myself for doing anything as a kid that I was trying to learn, even if it still wasn't good. There was still sin, there was still wickedness in the sense of what was happening, but was I judging myself rather than letting God judge me? Because I've learned, and especially in the last few years too, the last few years have been intense if you haven't been able to tell. But the things I've learned in the last few years is that the commandment to judge not, to not judge people because we ourselves are these imperfect beings, is that it's even a commandment to not judge ourselves, to believe that we knew what we were doing or to understand. A lot of the work I do with clients is helping them to understand that, and that I've learned within myself, is that when we know better, we do better. And so a lot of times in the decisions that we make, even if they are wicked or sinful or the mistakes that are the paths that are chosen, it's that we're making them without a complete knowledge of the severity or the negative that really is there, or the separation from God that it really does cause and create. And so when we are the ones judging ourselves, we just continue to put a separation between ourselves and God, except for when He comes. And then He's like, no, I'm your judge. We get to get out of that in the sense that I'm not my judge. He is. He knows and understands every dynamic of what has made me me. He understands every dynamic. He understands right now even the core essence of the abandonment that I experience. My dad left when I was 2. He not just left our family. I'm the youngest of 4. He didn't just leave our family and leave my mom and us kids. Like, he left us for another woman and her family, and they got married, and he ended up raising her kids. And I ended up as an adult before my dad passed away. I got along with my dad and had reconciled with him in a lot of ways. But the damage that was done because of his choices, I don't even fully understand, even though I've been actively pursuing that healing for years. I didn't realize until this year, I was at a business training with my business coach, whose name is James Wedmore. You'll probably hear me talking about him. But he was helping us process, and I got to be someone they did one of the sessions with. And one of the things that was coming up for me, because of that session and how it opened up, and no, it wasn't that I got to do a session with everyone. I got to do the session with my small group, and then I got to talk about it. That's what happened. But because of that, I recognized that I had been in this massive, weird comparison energy with everything that was happening at this event. And then I kept comparing of like, oh, I'm such a, horrible person, or I don't do it this way. How can it be okay? And I realized that day that the abandonment that I had that's why I had a comparison issues, because of the abandonment. And I had never, ever thought or never even understood that I had been comparing myself and like, well, I don't do it that way. Is my way okay? Because I don't do it the way they're doing it, but we're teaching the same things. We're just doing it differently. So I was just in this massive comparison, and it's like, oh my gosh, the abandonment of my childhood, the abandonment of my dad is what has created this system of comparison in me. Oh, and it just opened up so many doors. And I mean, I just learned that this year of, oh my gosh, it's been because of the abandonment that I started comparing. And imagine how much more is in here that I just don't understand, that is there and influencing it. But God does. God knows everything that's influencing my decisions, the way I think and the way I process. And He loves me, and He wants me to be kind to myself, and He wants me to turn to Him. But I need to admit stuff. If I wasn't admitting that I was even comparing things, He couldn't have taught me that, hey, Sarah, that comparison is a thief. You need to stop comparing. And I didn't even admit I was doing it until, again, that day or that weekend, because I didn't recognize it until I was sitting there and I'm like, wait, Brain, why are you doing this? Why are you comparing? These feel like aliens now. This also feels like a story now, and this is a story. And this is a story. It's all a story. It did feel real for a bit until apparently I started talking through it, and then it just started feeling like stories. Stories. I'm tired of the stories, you guys. I'm tired. I want them gone. I don't want stories to. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So look how green, right? The story, it even changes depending on the layering of what's going on. We're getting more of a bright green just by placing the little yellow. I feel like I need to go this one. Let's change it. No more drowning. No more drowning. It's now living, now grass. It's now living, an opportunity. No more drowning. No more drowning in the stories. Only living in the opportunities. No more drowning in the, no more drowning. No more. Isn't cover theory so fun? Oh, there's a line right here. Oh, my stomach feels better. I now want to put, let's see, stuff on here. I'll give you some teal. We got some blue turning teal too. No more stories. I release the stories that are unserving. I release the stories that are hurting me, that are exhausting me. I release them. I feel there is a I felt like I needed to bring the crayons out, which is interesting. Sometimes this is totally enough. Oh, that's interesting. It feels like it's a wax resist, like it's helping create a barrier to stopping the stories. Kind of like if water was spilling and there was something that was created to resist it coming off the page, or a resist. I don't want to be afraid of anything flowing. Do I need to resist? Even the stories, I want them to flow. So what do I do with the resist? I release my resistance. I release wanting to resist. I release wanting to resist. There it goes. Oh, I'm gonna yawn. Ooh. To resist. No more wanting to resist. Let it go. Then we have frozen. Let it go. Let it go. Oh, here we go. Ooh. I choose to not resist change. I choose to embrace it, to rewrite my stories, to rewrite not stories, but to rewrite my life, to give Oh, that's big, what I'm saying right now, to give my life meaning, which tells me that for that coming out of my mouth means there's a part of me that doesn't believe my life has meaning. If I've had to write the stories of the meaning, what are my stories that I have given meaning, or the belief that I don't have meaning? Because consciously, I know I have meaning. Logically, I know I have meaning. But what I need to find, which is what we're doing here, is finding where those shadows of me are that are impacting me, that are holding me back from living fully and completely and having joy and peace, being able to love myself and love my neighbor. What is it that's holding me back? Oh, if I had a big red marker, I would do a big X right across it. I do have a big red marker. Oh, what color is this? Because I feel it's important. Crimson, perfect. Let's go this side. Because these are the alcohol markers, I don't know how much it's going to work on top of it, but here we go. We are canceling the stories. We are canceling those unserving energies. We're letting them go. We're forgiving them. We're saying thank you. I'm saying thank you. I am saying thank you for teaching me so much over the years. You're not serving me anymore, so I'm going to let you go. Stories are not serving me. Truth serves me. Reality serves me. No more stories. Oh, so I grew up watching a lot of television. That's how I learned to cook. That's how I learned to. I watched Bob Ross and Yin Can Cook on PBS when I was a kid. I was a big food and art person even as a kid. But what I'm understanding is television has been the stories. Television has fueled the stories. Television fuels the stories. I don't want to fuel the stories. I don't want to fuel the stories. So I'm going to do something. I rub my hands together to help me shift energy. You're going to see some wiggling. Oh, I have realized that stimming is just a way to get out excess energy that you're feeling. So the energy I'm feeling in my body, I feel like I'm now floating. I don't like that feeling. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel grounded and I like to feel grounded and I usually am grounded. But the feeling right now, it feels like my head is floating up. Hmm. So I am gonna tear it up. Actually, I want to fold it up. Into nothing. Into nothing. Oh, fun fact, my dad, he liked a lot of marijuana. He liked, and this felt like he smoked a lot too, my dad did. And as I was rolling it up, it felt like I was rolling up a cigarette or joint. It felt like the stories are what perpetuated drug use in my dad and addictions in other ways. I don't want those stories. I don't want those addictions. And even looking at it, it looks red. It looks like it's on fire right here. And the white. How interesting. I don't want those stories. I don't want those addictions. So I release the stories. Those stories are free. I'm going to give them to God. I'm going to let them go. I'm going to say again, thank you. I learned a lot from you. There's no animosity. There's no anger about them. Going through that crying to the Lord principle, right? I'm willing and choosing humility and to be aware of them and acknowledging them, being accountable to them, and accepting them and giving them to God. My dad's showing up a lot, which is very much connected to my soul wound in Chiron. My Taurus in Chiron. This one feels like we're going to have to do it. Not this release specifically, because this is complete as I'm finishing this, but it feels like I want to color on the Taurus page again. Doesn't have to be next. It doesn't have to be right now, but will definitely be one that will continue to show me and release and help me to find things that have not been found, understand things that have not been understood. And for that, I am grateful. I am grateful for learning. I am grateful for growing. I'm grateful for forgiving. I forgive my dad. I recognized my dad was so young. He was so sheltered and not sheltered all at the same time. He was so smart, but so stupid. No offense, Dad. I love you. I identify a lot with those two traits from my dad, though. Oh, so smart, yet so stupid. My dad did a lot of self-medicating for a really long time. He had some real challenges in his life. And that's one of the things that I want to release the stories. I don't want to do any of the self-medicating. He did it with drugs and alcohol and smoking, and I've done it with food and television to disassociate and leave reality. I don't want to do that anymore. I like reality. I learn here. I grow here. This is where I get to choose to change. It's where I get to choose to heal and accept, not just change. Like, I like who I am as a whole. There are parts of things that I accept refinement in. So when I say change, that's what I mean. All right. Now it feels the energy of this like torn up, like it feels happy now. Like the paper itself didn't feel that way, but this feels light. Like it feels light. So I like that. Oops. All right. I'm gonna finish tearing these up and I will be back tomorrow with some Gemini. I'm gonna keep going with the order of the houses until I feel otherwise. But there we are. Release. Release your inhibitions. What is that song? You know that one? Release your inhibitions. Hey. Ooh. Ooh. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.